The ostrich farm. Sherrie Williams. Good morning.
Yes. Oh, hi. So nice to be here. Thank
Yes,
you.
a descendant of the Maybelline Empire.
Yes.
Let me go to my inbox here so I know for sure. It says Tom Lyle Williams was your uncle.
Was my great uncle.
Great uncle. So that means your father or mother was his nephew or
Well,
niece.
there were three brothers. There was Tom Lyle, and then his brother Noel, which is my cousin Chuck's grandfather.
And he's here. Hello,
And
Chuck.
he's
Good morning,
here.
Santa Barbara.
You're a Santa Barbara resident.
Yes, been here 40 years.
Know Arthur and the whole gang?
No, the whole deal.
Worked for the Beach Boys for a number of years?
Yes, I did.
And he
Thank
looks very Southern
See,
California.
that
doesn't
makes
he?
it local history.
He's
Of
got the
course he
look.
does.
Appreciate that.
Where do you live?
I live in Laguna Beach and Scottsdale.
Okay. And so you grew up with this incredible empire. Maybelline was still owned by your uncle, your great uncle,
Oh,
before
yes.
the L'Oreal people, I guess, took it over
Oh, yes.
during your early life.
Well, yes.
Let's talk
Maybelline-
about the book quickly,
Okay.
first of all. It's out. It's called what? The Maybelline Story?
The Maybelline story and the spirited family dynasty behind it.
And it really is.
It's very spirited.
I can't wait to see the miniseries on ABC on this sucker. Or,
Every Tuesday night at 8:30.
Lifetime for Women. Well, what did you do? Go digging, or did you know a lot about this? You probably did research like you wouldn't believe in the
I have
family.
actually done a lot of it right here in Montecito,
Really?
staying with my cousins, particularly staying with Chuck, of course, and he has a special room where I can go in there with the computer and research. So I'd come up here once a year for probably a month and do a lot of work, and then we discuss it and we look at the Maybelline ads from the vintage period, and we would just work. But I've been working on this since my grandmother was mysteriously killed in 1978. So this isn't an overnight.
Your grandmother, that would be...
Miss Maybelline.
Oh, maybe... Is it Maybelle? Is that her name?
No, that was Tom Lyle's sister, who the company is named after.
Oh, I see. Okay, Miss Maybelline was your grandmother,
Yes.
and they don't have her kill her?
No.
They don't know how she... They know how
No.
she died.
Well, they know that she was burned beyond recognition in a fire where 3 bombs went off in her house.
Good heavens. Oh, I
And
wasn't
you'll have
around
to
here.
read the story.
I got to know the ground rules. How much can we talk about? I've gone online. Let's give that out right now.
MaybellineBook.com.
Maybelline is Maybelline.
Of course.
And when I went there, there's 4 little links. You went there too, did you not, Jeremy?
More or less.
Excerpts, which gave me, just whetted my appetite.
Oh, good.
To learn this story. My God.
It looks like you've been eating quite a bit since then.
No, he's been trying.
Oh,
He's
You're
really
hired.
been
You're
trying.
going to be my second
All right,
banana
all right.
in here. Are we talking 100 years? When was
The book actually starts in 1911, but it refers back to even the Mayflower roots of
Really?
the family, all the way back to Benjamin Franklin and
Good old Williams family.
founder of West Point.
We're all Williams. Have you not been married to
I'm
somebody?
Williams, and I have been married.
But you kept the family name?
I went back to the family name.
I was able to keep mine. I got to keep mine.
That's a good old Anglo-Saxon name. It's
Sure.
a lot of Williams.
Yes, a lot of Welch.
Yeah, but now you see, you remind me in a book I've got that I dearly love on Highland clans, where the Lord Moncrief of that ilk, who wrote it, says there is no family better than any other family, because all families are of equal age. So there's no old families as opposed to new families. What there is there's families who've kept records and kept their identity as a family.
Yes.
We are deep into that.
And you see, you've
Really?
done that with your taking it all away from
Yes.
the first time they stepped on the soil in the Mayflower times, and then how they were able as a family to achieve this great empire.
And being the family-owned company that it was able to stay that way for quite a few years, as we know.
And the love that the family has had, that we have stayed together. There is such a bond.
We have the archives.
We have the archives.
have
We
the
also
archives.
have the generations, 4th generation now of cousins that are still, staying together.
Yeah, we talked a little earlier of how many families there are that manage to keep their family identity and keep their family concept together. I mean, it's one thing to have the archives and the business records and write the history of Bank of America or something like that of a great corporation. But to fit it in with the people and the saga, and especially when you try to keep a family from feuding and falling apart.
Yes.
We've seen those too. That's that's an achievement of almost a higher order than just making the money.
Thank
all
you.
as hard as that
Absolutely.
is.
Thank you.
That's how we feel too. That the tightness of the family is the story of the Maybelline company.
Well,
That's why it's still here today.
I want to get to later on in this half hour the local connection. Who moved where? Was it Montecito? Let's start at the beginning. Somebody mixed some coal
course,
ash
yes.
with oil and came up with the first mascara.
Well,
was that a fair
yes,
statement?
of course. Yes, Tom Lyle was a born entrepreneur. He had a mail order business since he was a kid, like in his teens, and he was trying to figure out something that would catch the American spirit, that he could have continuous orders. And here he was 19 years old, and he was still, selling gag gifts and sneezing powder and razors, and he was making money, but he knew that wasn't going to sustain him over the decades. So miraculously, his sister Mabel had come up from Kentucky to help him with his mail order business, and she accidentally singed her eyelashes and eyebrows over the fire.
Oh, a stove.
Cooking.
Yeah.
She hardly had any eyebrows to begin with. And then she
Very
singed
pale
them all.
anyway. So now she's worried that she's going to have to go live in a convent because, what am I going to do?
Okay.
So anyway, she concocted a mixture of burned cork ash and some Vaseline, and she mixed it in her palm, and then she applied it lightly
And
on her
Noel and Tom
eyebrows and
Lyle would
eyelashes.
watch this. Just
And they were
watch
watching
this.
it.
And what are you doing?
Right.
And
Okay.
all of a sudden, they said, wow, you look like the silent film stars. You look like Lillian Gish. You look like Theda Bara. And then they realized it was the eyes on the face that had never really been put on the market as far as products. There was lip rouge, as they called it. There was,
Blush.
powder and blush. And
There were other companies
creams
at that
and
time.
No eye makeup.
no
Not
eye makeup.
No.
But I mean, they were cosmetics.
There was cosmetics.
What were
yes.
they called? What were some of the competitors of the early
Well,
Maybelline?
I
They're
really,
all gone now.
I really think
that
that
right?
a
We
lot
don't
of
know.
them possibly were European. I don't think that American women at that time, at the turn of the century, were into vanity. That wasn't a virtue. A man didn't marry a woman because she was beautiful. He
Right.
married her because she was virtuous. So the Gibson girl was what was happening at the time that Tom Lyle
the
saw
gifts.
this.
Okay.
Well, there was another element going too, and that's what, in a sense, built Chicago and Sears Roebuck. That was for the first time a national market was opening up.
Absolutely.
And a lot of cosmetics. I mean, we had cosmetics with the Egyptians. And archaeology, they loved getting the little
Right.
bottles.
That's
to
really
figure
where it
out
came
what was
Sure,
in
they
it.
were big into that.
But there was no marketing. There was no distribution. It was all home
No
remedies.
advertising.
And you told your niece or something how to get the men by doing this or that. And he managed to come in 1911, 1912. It's just when the whole country was opening up as a market. And I suspect that was
Right.
an element, and that he saw that and sensed that.
I
And he
wish you were
figured out how
helping
to
me
sell
write
it,
the
too.
book. That's
And trying to figure out how to sell it, too.
Yeah.
And to all the women that needed it.
well, and not only that, but remember, that was a hard market to sell.
That's where their catalog came
Now,
in.
how are you going to get women who think that vanity is, not a virtuous thing, to put this on their eyes? That was Cleopatra. So
She did
his
that?
marketing plan was genius, because when he first came out, it was advertised as it was a chemist, because it was for health. It was for making your eyebrows.
Clever.
That's how they began to get into the woman's psyche,
Clever.
is that it was good for you, not that it was going to make you beautiful. In time, when the movie stars came in, like Joan Crawford and Merle Oberon and Jean Harlow and all the big stars in Hollywood who represented
This would be
Maybelline,
the
then
vamps, the vamps
vanity.
of the Roaring Twenties. Some of those.
The vamps
early
of the
silent-
Roaring Twenties, the silent film stars,
Okay.
all the photoplay models, they were the ones that you saw in the Maybelline ads.
Well, when the brothers had the actual crayon made to put this onto your face.
That's right. It was a crayon.
It was a
wasn't
crayon.
it? Yeah.
They didn't tell the pharmaceutical company that it was what it was. They said they were crayons, so they think they were a couple of crazy kids going out. And then they came home and wrote Maybelline on all the pencils, sent an ad out in the paper, magazine, sent us one dime, we'll send you one Maybelline eyebrow pencil.
Right.
And the next thing we knew, the family was in business.
It was an overnight
Yeah, it
sensation.
really did
and I really
happen
do
very
believe
fast.
that it, like you said, it coincided with the birth of the film industry.
That too. Yeah.
very
yeah.
huge. That was
Yeah,
coming on
yeah.
huge.
Are you
Yeah.
telling me that in 1915, Great Uncle Tom went into mass production of charcoal and Vaseline?
In
or
a-
did
Well,
he
of
change
course-
that
form.
recipe at all?
Well, absolutely. Well, of course, he went to Park Davis.
Oh,
That's who they lied to
Noel,
about the crayons.
else.
Noel and Tom Lyle.
My grandfather and Tom Lyle
went to Park Davis,
with
and
these
they
crayons.
formulated.
Yeah.
They came up with a few extra ingredients.
They got
other
a chemistry
than that.
set and made their own little deal from.
So they
Annie
made the sort
Mabel's
of
deal.
wax crayon
Yes.
with a lot black in it and everything.
But Park Davis wanted to know, what is this, you guys? What is this? And here's two 19-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And they lied. Noel's poking them. We got to lie. We can't tell them it's for the beautification of eyes.
Right.
Or they're probably going to take it.
Did
Well,
he-
that was another.
Absolutely.
It may not look like it, but it was another stroke of genius to keep
Huge
it black
stroke.
boxed.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that
Understated.
well, not understated, just secret.
Oh,
Yes.
secret.
Our family is that way.
Once years ago, I got involved with something with a buddy, and we came up with something remarkable. And by the time we got through with the chemist, and then we decided not to go ahead with it when we found out what it cost to market, the chemist's assistant ran with it and made
Well,
it a
yeah.
national
Same thing with the
thing.
barcode fellow. How
So
about
he-
the barcode?
Barcode,
Same
right.
thing. He got
That's
that.
the first level of what made Maybelline, to my way of thinking, one of the first elements of Maybelline starting to look like a national
Well said.
company.
But
Right.
beyond the crayon you talked about, the black, did Maybelline also produce your rouge and your pancake
Oh,
makeup?
no, not at all. It was
Just
strictly
that.
eyes.
It was.
Strictly eyes.
Strictly eyes. Well, mascara.
Okay, that means blacking and not only the eyebrows but the eyelids. Did they
In
go that far?
time, he
In
came
time.
out with eyeshadow, but the original
perfect.
Maybelline
Yes,
was
a
just a
little
black
brush.
cake
Yeah.
with a little brush.
Right.
And in those days, there wasn't even a word for
I've had that
mascara.
since I've been born.
People would say, "Oh, I've got to get my Maybelline." Anything that had to do with the eyes was called Maybelline.
I see.
And Uncle Highland
It has nothing to do with the
on the ass.
Chuck Berry song, does it?
It does actually. Chuck Berry had to ask for permission.
Did he really?
Yes.
But the
Which is
style-
debatable
Victor.
whether we gave him or not. He had to change the spelling.
Well, he
I mean,
did change the
That
spelling,
was
but
not
if
a
you look,
woman's name. Maybelle was. No
Mabel.
woman ever
Mabel.
called herself
I don't,
Maybelline until
I don't think
It was
so.
Mabel-
Maybelline.
Maybelline.